Hello, everyone. I'm Colin Tessier of WrestleZone.com, here to talk about Monday Night Raw, a very special Memorial Day episode here. John Clark, because of the holiday, is on vacation tonight, so you're here riding solo. But with your wonderful comments, as always, we'll get right through it. Very eventful episode. This was the go-home show for Hell in a Cell on Sunday, so we'll talk all about that because we had multiple matches for that show announced during the show tonight for the show on Sunday, and also the ones that we already knew about were hyped up as well. So definitely lots to get into. So I guess, again, first and foremost, have a Memorial Day, everybody. Hope you had a good holiday. If you had off of work, I hope you enjoyed it. If you had work, or were able to celebrate it somehow, it's fun. It's days like this. It's a holiday, but we still, the wrestling world goes on, so we still have Raw and whatnot. So. Definitely. Oh, that's the point. Asking where's John. John is on vacation. He had, I guess, a chance to take a 3-day weekend. I think it was like 5 days. He had a nice vacation for Memorial Day to get away and recharge his batteries a little bit. I think he should be back with us for the NXT show tomorrow night on Tuesday. So he was off to doing something to celebrate the holiday. So just if John's out there, I hope you're doing well, John. But we're here to talk about Monday Night Raw and Hell in a Cell, which has become very much so a Raw exclusive pay-per-view or PMI event, which is very, very weird. In the sense of they haven't even said that. They've been promoting Hell in a Cell, and they keep adding matches entirely on the Raw side. We got 2 new matches tonight just on the Raw side alone. So I don't know what they're doing there. DJ points out that John was tweeting. Yeah, John always watches the show. John always watches if it's Raw or SmackDown, even if he's not here. He's here in spirit, and you can follow along with his tweets tonight to get a sense of what he thought. We'll talk about anything anything comes up on the NXT show. Herman says it should be called a pay-per-view. Yeah, I agree. I'm old-fashioned. I still am trying to retrain my brain to say it's a premium live event because that's the technical term, but to me, they're pay-per-views. I think we can all agree on that. Brian says the Hell in a Cell card is shaping up. I mean, it's shaping up. Like I said, it's weird because this is very much a brand exclusive show at this point. SmackDown doesn't have any matches that I know of at the moment. I will look it up just to be sure. But even if they have if they happen to do the tag title match that they kind of set up tonight, but they officially announced that would be kind of a SmackDown match. I'm looking right now. Just Raw matches, so that'd be even weirder if they just had one SmackDown match versus right now it is 6 Raw matches like that. I guess I kind of would rather they just leave it, or I would rather they say, hey, this is a Raw exclusive pay-per-view like they used to. I just think it is a Raw brand pay-per-view. I don't think that was ever officially announced, but again, not to be redundant, but that is very much the case. What we're seeing so far. Herman says that is the brand split coming to an end? I mean, that's always the hot question. Differing reports about what the case is there. The latest that I've seen is that we might see people going back and forth a little bit more than usual, which has already been the case for a little bit now. But the brand split is definitely, I always joke the brand split's dead. At the very least, it is much, much softer than it used to be. With some predictions about what they could add on the SmackDown side. Eddie says they could do Ricochet versus Gunther, IC title. Would be very fun. And Eisenwalker is saying they could do Ronda versus Natalya. Perhaps. I could see that as well. I guess it'd be good to have Ronda on there if you're not going to have Roman Reigns, who supposedly is not going to be there. He's not advertised. So we're going to talk more about Hell in a Cell as we go here. We are going to talk about the matches that were added to the show tonight. So I guess trying to work in the chronological sense. We started the show. Becky Lynch had a promo. She, of course, was added to the Raw Women's Championship match, which is now a triple threat match. That was last week. So we had that promo after that. I think that may have been last week. So triple threat match. She's talking about that, talking about how she's confident she'll get the title back. She pointed to the screen, and we saw, I guess, an image from Money in the Bank 2020 when Asuka won the Money in the Bank match. And of course, as we know now, subsequently, that was technically for the title because Becky gave her the title. She went away to have her baby. So again, incorporating that long-term history is I often appreciate the way they do. When they do that, they don't always do that. When they do that, I appreciate it. And then Asuka interrupts, and unfortunately, this was pretty much the same thing that she's been doing with Becky since she came back, calling Becky a baby and the fake crying. It's pretty much been the same thing every week. Asuka's great. She's amazing in the ring, but this is kind of more par for the course of what they have her do from a character standpoint. Not the best. Bianca Belair comes out and says she's not complaining about having to defend a title in a triple threat match. She's confident she's going to beat both. She was upset that Asuka accidentally kicked her in the face last week, so she said, I'm going to have a lot to say in the ring in our match tonight. So they wound up having their match pretty much a minute later. So it was a very good match. Bianca Belair versus Asuka could easily be a headline like women's title match on a pay-per-view. And they pretty much had that style of match here in the first half hour of Raw. A very good match. I enjoyed it a lot. And Bianca won, if I remember correctly. It feels like ages ago. My sense of time is almost up after I watched Double or Nothing last night. That just really threw me off. We had Belair beat her, and then Becky beat them both down after the match. So it was a very good match, and then Becky stands tall. Nothing too crazy for a triple threat match build. This is kind of stuff you would probably usually expect. But people seem to be excited for the match at the pay-per-view or pre-my event. They're interchangeable. I really don't care. Brian says, can't wait for the triple threat match. It's going to be great. Eddie says it's going to steal the show. I cannot complain about having three of the very best women on the roster in the same match. The story's been by and large, I've been enjoying the story, just like the one dynamic of Asuka's doing kind of the same thing every time. It's calling Becky a baby, the fake crying, not loving that aspect, but three very, very, very talented performers. Gonna be a very good match. I feel pretty confident that Bianca's going to win and retain the title. Steven says, I think we may see Bianca losing at Hell in a Cell, though. If not, the Hell in a Cell, then maybe SummerSlam. I don't think she'll lose at Hell in a Cell. I mean, this is really... Yeah, she didn't even defend the title at WrestleMania Backlash. So, it would be pretty weird to me to have her lose the title so soon. She defended the title, I think, right around WrestleMania Backlash on Raw against Sonya Deville. This is her kind of first big defense on a premium live event. So I have to think that she would probably at least retain it through this. I would probably think she'd make it through Money in the Bank. And that was a stadium show. That this was a news story that happened at the end of last week. They moved Money in the Bank to the smaller M&GM arena. So it's no longer a stadium show. But it'll still be a fun show. I'm sure it'll still be a good show with big matches. But, you can kind of assume they would do pretty big matches. For bigger matches for a stadium show, and Money in the Bank is no longer, they might kind of hold off on a really big match for SummerSlam in that case. DJ says, "Go big time, Bex, win back your baby." That being the title in this case. Becky had kind of a "you people" promo. She was like, "Oh, you people were rooting against me, rooting for my downfall, and you don't want me to get my title back." And then she twisted a little bit. She was talking again about that history with Asuka, which is again appreciated on my end. I'm like, I like that history and incorporating that. And I haven't really seen so much of the Becky and of the Bianca and Asuka feud so much. They had the match tonight, but they're not really enemies. Asuka actually kicked her in the face last week, and they kind of they had a match tonight, which is great. But it's not like they're bitter enemies. And Steven says, "Don't count on Asuka." I mean, it'd be cool if and on paper, it'd be cool if she won a title so soon after coming back to kind of really establish her in a big way. And we'll talk about another former champion coming back, Alexa Bliss, in a little bit, coming back in a big way. Kind of similarly here, Asuka coming back. She's won a couple matches. She's been looking pretty good. And I could see her winning in that sense. But again, more looking at Bianca being a champion, I'm like, I don't think Bianca would lose so quickly. Quickly being relative, it's already the end of May now, but it feels like not too long ago that she won the title at WrestleMania, and that was a big moment. So I would feel pretty safe in saying that she'll probably keep the title at least through Hell in a Cell, probably up until the road to SummerSlam, maybe losing it there. But it's gonna be a good match. Very much looking forward to that. And then I just saying whoever wins Money in the Bank on the women's side will beat Bianca, whoever they might be. I mean, in that case, I could see Rhea Ripley. I could see Alexa Bliss. Those would probably be the favorites on the Raw side of things. Over on SmackDown, not quite as much depth in a general sense, especially with the Sasha Banks and Naomi situation. So I would probably, at this point, already still well over pretty much a month and a half away, I would probably say, yeah, if that prediction is true, and I would tend to maybe I see the thinking there, and I think it's very possible. And in that case, I would hope it would be Rhea Ripley or Alexa Bliss in that case. So Brian's been enjoying the build, though, saying it's been the best thing, hoping Bianca retains. Not loving the build, but I do hope Bianca retains. And again, I did like the flashback to Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank 2020, folks, if you're watching back then, and I'm going to assume many of you were, like, that was just a crazy time, pandemic. They had Money in the Bank at the WWE headquarters. It was like Money in the Bank literally in WWE headquarters. They were fighting on the roof. Rey Mysterio got chucked off the roof. The world was like turned upside down because that was the one that pandemic really started to hit. Very, very crazy time. And now, like, anytime they kind of reference it or they play like a little clip of it, it's just like, it's this very odd sense of nostalgia. It's like, no, I don't want to go back to that way of things, but like, it's just so crazy. And like, here we are, we're like back in this relative sense of, at least in the wrestling world, the sense of normalcy. This crazy, crazy time. But so that's one match that we already knew we were getting at Hell in a Cell. We had several matches here confirmed for the show, added to the show, and I guess we can jump around a little bit. So tonight we had Mustafa Ali facing Ciampa, formerly known as Tommaso Ciampa. The match where if Mustafa won, he would earn a future U.S. title shot. The champion being Theory. They've been feuding for a couple weeks now, and Theory has not gotten a chance to, or I should say, Ali has not gotten a chance to challenge for the title yet. Theory has been ducking him a little bit. He faced Ciampa. It was a good match. We talked about this for a couple weeks now. I'm like, oh, the second they do Ciampa versus Ali, it should be a really good match. And it was. And then Theory attacked Ali to force a DQ, which seemed questionable because by Ali winning, he gave him a title shot, but then Theory twisted it. It was like, oh, I'll give you a title shot right now after he beat him up after the match. So it made some sense. Like, it was a little awkward getting there, but it made sense. And then, like, the way they're doing it, I was like, I kind of thought they might do a shocking title change. Was like, I guess just for the heck of it, not to sound too casual, but like, I don't know, we see WWE do this all the time where it's like, oh, let's just, just for the pop, just for the surprise, let's do a title change. I didn't necessarily think they'd do that with Theory, at least here especially, just to have it like it'd be such a random title change, I guess, for lack of a better word, with the attack and the making it so obvious that Theory would win. I didn't necessarily think they would do that, but I kind of felt like that's what they were going for, that Ali could win. And then he didn't. Theory won, as he should have, beating up a guy that he just beat up previously, right before the match. But then Adam Pearce came out and said, you may have outsmarted Ali, but Vince McMahon wants you to have a fair fight, wants Ali to have a fair fight at Hell in a Cell on Sunday in Chicago, Mustafa Ali's hometown. So it will be Theory defending the U.S. title against Ali on Sunday, supposedly in a fair fight. So that will be, as I said, in Mustafa Ali's hometown. Now, WWE, a lot of the time, we kind of see they don't always do the thing where, the hometown hero wins. Actually, most of the time, they do the opposite, where they'll have the hometown person lose. I remember WrestleMania 35, they had pretty much every hometown guy win. Remember, like, Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins won the tag titles. Tony Nese won the Cruiserweight title. It was when WrestleMania was at MetLife. They had a bunch of like the hometown guys win. It's like just Mustafa Ali, as far as I know. No one else I really know of being a Chicago native. I could see him winning in Chicago. And that's what saying she predicts Ali winning and DJ agreeing as well, saying the crowd will explode. And Ali even cited the problem was like, oh, I'm going to win the title in my hometown, and Theory attacked him again. I think it could happen, obviously, and anything can happen anytime. I'm still skeptical with Mustafa Ali. Everything that he requested his release is still I'm projecting, but it's like I feel like they wouldn't just like reward him, if that makes sense, by giving him a title win so soon after he came back. The first couple of weeks after he came back, he was pretty much, if not jobbed out. Like he lost a couple matches here and there. He got beat up pretty. I think he lost severe, very and I think he lost a bunch of matches. So not the most like impressive in terms of like win-loss record, not the most impressive runs for him since he came back. And I don't think he would necessarily beat Theory, as we talk about pretty much every week here. The guy that's been Vince McMahon's like handpicked project here. So I feel like the odds are definitely in Theory's favor. But the DJ says maybe we'll do some like a quick hot potato kind of thing of having Ali win the title and lose it back to Theory the next night. They do that all the time as well. Not to bring up Zack Ryder again, but when Zack Ryder won the IC title at WrestleMania and lost it the next night, they do that as well. I feel like it's been a little while since they've done that exactly, but it's definitely in their playbook. So, or if they would do even longer, Steven Chambers says maybe they'll do Ali winning a pay-per-view and Theory gets back at the next one. So that would be Money in the Bank, and that would be a couple weeks, whatever it might be, which I could also see. But I do think that maybe the smarter money might be on Theory winning. And even if it's not something like this, I just says it could be if Theory wins, if he has this good U.S. title reign, as he's talked about, as fans have talked about, the big thing that a lot of people are kind of, if not hoping to see, maybe expecting to see. I think something that like seems like it makes a lot of sense would be Theory against John Cena at SummerSlam. That would make a lot of sense. Theory makes pretty much every interview he does makes it clear like John Cena was his inspiration, his role model when he was a kid. Big fan of his. Makes perfect sense. U.S. Championship, kind of that connection there, and Theory being a guy that Vince clearly wants to get over as this next big project, big star. All those dots are connecting. So that's why I'm not necessarily thinking that he'll lose the title here. Even just kind of keep that. Keep the momentum going if that becomes a possibility. I think they're going to want to book him strong heading into that if that does become feasible. So I want the match to happen. I think that'd be a great story. Brian agreeing, saying that he hopes it happens. And that's just she doesn't want to see Cena come back only to lose the Theory. I agree with that as well. I don't think that would be great, but at the same time, I definitely think Cena is at this point where he really can help. He can, and that's not my place to say should, but like he definitely is in a place where he can very much help craft these next big stars of like, by losing, not to say by losing them, he could beat them, and then that still helps them. But beating John Cena, like that's. You're a made man. Like Theory would be very much ready to go in terms of kind of reaching that next level, because like it doesn't get bigger than that. So you can definitely see that. As higher with a fun fact here, July 27th will mark the anniversary. I believe that'll be the 20-year anniversary of John Cena's debut, which is crazy to believe. That will be the go home show for SummerSlam. So Theory could challenge Cena there. If they do that, if they do Theory versus Cena, I would hope they do more of a longer build, like an actual, couple week build kind of thing. I don't know what John Cena's schedule is. I really don't. So if it is kind of a very short-term thing and it's really just for the match, it could be that. It could make perfect sense to have Cena come in for his anniversary and then Theory challenge him there, because the story has already canceled itself. There's interviews. John Cena literally said on Twitter, like, "Oh, Theory is more talented than I'll ever be, or like more gifted in terms of like kind of raw skills than he ever was." That's out there as well. So a lot of this is already kind of writing itself. I always say I'm old-fashioned. I like a couple week build, and then we build up to the pay-per-view, and we get this big match. But again, John Cena's a very, very busy guy, so maybe that's not the most feasible thing. I guess, of course, Nessa, I know you love John Cena. I'm a big fan of John Cena as well. I hope he comes back. It's crazy to me that it's going to be his 20-year anniversary. Like, wow. Steven saying, I feel old. I feel old too, man. Like, that's crazy to believe. 20 years of John Cena. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, if Theory wins, if they do this match, we're getting off into speculation here. But like, if that happens, that's a huge win for Theory, beating his idol like that. Huge in terms of his career. And I would think it's safe for the huge person that like it doesn't get better than like being in the ring with your hero and then beating them. That's pretty crazy. So DJ with another good connection here saying, do we think Theory is the real chosen one and will be more successful than Drew McIntyre was back in the day? I already think it's off to a good start. I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. That was when I first started watching when I was a kid, like Drew McIntyre being the chosen one, literally Vince McMahon saying this man will be a future world champion. And we've seen him do some very similar things with Theory here. It sounds bad, but like McIntyre like didn't really look like a star when Vince said that. He was so young and he looked just like not quite ready. Like he's not to say it's a matter of like look or whatever, but like Theory looks like $1 million. Like he looks like John Cena in a lot of ways. Like he has that kind of this it factor. It's very hard to like define, but like I definitely think he has been more successful so far. I know that McIntyre back then had IC title reigns, that he was very much for a while positioned as a lot of ways like Theory is. I can't recall exactly because I was a kid when I was watching at the time. I've been more impressed with Theory in the general sense. Obviously, I'm more mature now, but like I don't know. I feel like that's a pretty fair kind of assessment of like I think it's going better for Theory so far, and I think it stands to get even better. Again, not even just staying focused on the John Cena thing, but like, you know, he was in the Survivor Series match. He got a WWE title match the next night, which is, you know, crazy at the time, and he held his own that match with Big E. And thinks he's been a featured guy on Raw. He's been booked fairly well. He plays his gimmick very well. So I'm liking what I'm seeing in that sense. I can't forecast the future, but all signs point to this being a good run so far, and all signs point to it lead me to feel hopeful for where it's going. Again, even if it's not a John Cena match or whatever, I think he has a very, very bright future. So looking forward to seeing what happens there. Steven likes the idea of them bringing back Shane McMahon to face Theory. I think that was like the rumor for WrestleMania at some point. On the road to WrestleMania, there were a bunch of like rumors and various things that got debunked or just fell apart. I think it was like after the Royal Rumble, like Shane came back and he was supposedly going to have a match at WrestleMania, and at least among fans, like that made perfect sense. Oh, Shane versus Theory, like literally fighting for Daddy Vince's love. I guess I don't know. So like that didn't happen, but it still could. It still could, especially if this goes on. If Vince McMahon becomes more impressed with Theory, Shane could be like, well, I'm your real son. Like, you know, there's a story there. I like the idea as well. But in a nutshell, Theory's going to defend the title against Mustafa Ali on Sunday at Hell in a Cell. Ali could win. I'm feeling pretty confident that Theory's going to win that one, though. That was one of two matches we had added to the card for Hell in a Cell tonight. So definitely a very Raw heavy, if not exclusive, pay-per-view for Sunday. So as we were talking about last week, is now official. Judgment Day, Edge, Damian Priest, and Rhea Ripley will face AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Liv Morgan in a mixed person, six person tag team match on Sunday at Hell in a Cell. This feud's been going on since the road to WrestleMania. If you think about Edge and AJ Styles at that point, and they've roped in Priest, and now they've roped in Rhea Ripley, now Balor and Morgan. So made perfect sense to do it. And this, as far as we know, is going to be a standard tag team match here. Nothing crazy, no cell. And I saw some people on Twitter saying, "Oh, this should have been a cell." Like, I mean, it could be, but like, I don't know if it's quite at that level yet. And like right now I think they only have one cell match announced. If I'm checking. Yeah, so one cell match right now. I don't know if they would just randomly throw the cell onto one of these matches, but I don't think there's anything wrong only having one cell match either. So that's fine by me. Because I'd rather them have the cell matches for the ones that really deserve it, the ones that the real blood feuds. This has been a heated feud. Like they're clearly like they hate each other, they're rivals, they're enemies, but like, you know, maybe it's not quite at that level. So obviously the big question here beyond who's going to win is, you know, as Edge has been teasing, not both in promos and on Twitter, you know, tweeting different pictures of people about who could join Judgment Day. He's recruiting people, expanding the group. Who could it be? Steven says he thinks this Ciampa is going to help Judgment Day beat this quote unquote Bullet Club, if you will, the Bullet Club Rejects. I didn't see the Rejects right. The Bullet Club Rejects, yes, in the 6-person tag team match. I will say, so we saw Ciampa facing Mustafa Ali tonight, and it just made me think, like, and he did the thing where he clapped his back as he did in NXT. And I talked about before, I'm a big fan of Ciampa, and I was hopeful when he got called up to Raw. I was like, okay, like this is gonna be good. You know, he's great. He's so good in the ring. Like, surely this will go well. Surely they'll use him and it'll be good. And he really hasn't done much. Like he attacked Mustafa Ali like 2 weeks in a row. I think this was the first time they've had a match on Raw, as far as I can recall, to get a match against each other. Like we've had, I think Ciampa, he had the run on Raw like before he officially got called up on NXT when he's still a babyface, but then he came back to Raw, officially got called up, and he attacked Mustafa Ali, turned heel. But we really haven't seen him do all that much. And Brian's saying Ciampa's being held back. I don't know if it's being held back. Definitely not being used to his fullest potential. So, you know, maybe that's intentional, and maybe they're trying to kind of hold off on like really showing what he can do, because the report back weeks and weeks ago was when the report about Rhea Ripley joining Judgment Day first came out. It was her and Ciampa supposedly joining him, so supposedly being pitched to join the group. Ripley has, Ciampa has not yet. So and as we've seen so far, both at WrestleMania and WrestleMania Backlash, the pay-per-views, my events, whatever, that's where Edge debuts a new member for the group. So this would lead me to expect we will see somebody join the group here. Ciampa remains the favorite to me in terms of who that could be. I think it's pretty likely at this point. I mean, just based on the pattern, what we've seen so far, based on, I think, would make sense to have Judgment Day win. DJ disagreeing though, saying he does not think there's a reason to have Edge and Company win it unless he has one of the opponents turn on each other. And that's interesting, of having AJ or Finn or Liv turn on each other. There's definitely that possibility as well. If it's not a newcomer, if he manages to corrupt someone on the other side of the match there. Likewise, Deer's asking who could it be. We talked about it before. Like, I really like the idea of Finn Balor, of the Demon and the Demon and Judgment Day. There's something like that's something very, very, like, I like that. Like, it's just, it works. The Demon and Judgment Day, like that feels like they very much go together. That it will just make sense. And likewise, Eddie's saying, like, the question here is, will Finn Balor turn to AJ Styles? I think if anybody's going to turn, it's going to be Finn Balor. Like, AJ Styles, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense for him to just turn face, be like, okay, I'm going to align with this guy I've been feuding with literally since February. I don't think that would make the most sense. So Boris Finn Balor, like, that would, I could easily see that happening. Nessa says she thinks it will be Ciampa if they get a man / another male member in this case. I think that makes sense. If it is Finn Balor here, I think it'll be a great match. As Steven points out, that'd be great. Give that match like 15 minutes and just like let them go on TV, on pay-per-view. Like, they will tear the house down. That'll be great. I love it. They're both great wrestlers, and if you let them do what they do best, they're not going to disappoint. So if it is Finn Balor in that case, I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be kind of help reinvigorate his run on Raw here. So I'd like to see that. But some thoughts here about the six-person, saying Eddie's saying 6-person tag here, saying it could be then you could do a 6-man tag at Money in the Bank. You have Ciampa there team up with Edge and Priest, and then you do Rhea and Liv being in the ladder match Money in the Bank. Like, that makes sense as well. I am hopeful it's going to be Ciampa. I think I definitely want to see Ciampa join the group and be more featured on Raw. This would be the best way to do that. I say that every week now. Working with Edge, Hall of Famer, like, that is probably the best way that you could be perceived as being important on Raw at this point, unless you hold a title, unless you're Cody Rhodes or Seth Rollins. Like, that's an automatic, like, boost to your status. So I'm all in on that. I would definitely like to see that. But yeah, worth pointing out, Edge was not here tonight. Rhea Ripley faced Liv Morgan in a singles match, and Liv Morgan won. And then post match, they brawled, no Edge. So then AJ, Liv, and Finn were able to get the upper hand, and which wasn't great in the sense of, like, it made Damian and Rhea look like they couldn't get the job done by themselves, where they kind of need Edge to, I don't know, to be at their full strength, and or at the least maybe plant that seed of, like, they need someone else. Maybe one Edge isn't there. Maybe they're not strong enough just by the two of them. I could see that rationale as well. DJ likes the idea of Liv Morgan turning here, being a great way to boost her career, potentially to give her a title run in the future. I mean, she hasn't really had a heel run. I mean, I remember a lot, like years ago, I think she was a heel with the early version of the Riot Squad. But she's been a babyface pretty solidly for quite a while now. And we haven't really joined Judgment Day year pretty much like a full-on heel. So that definitely freshened up her character. I'm really liking the Finn Balor idea, though. I think there's definitely something there. The Demon, like, that it speaks to me. Like, just like, it works. I'm telling you. I mean, I don't know. I could sit here and say, like, oh, they should do this, they should do that. For all I know, I could say, A, they're going to do Z, and that happens all the time. They do. But like, that's part of being a fan. That's fine. Like, I can think of things that I would like to see. Doesn't mean they're going to do it. But I think it'd be beneficial to have Finn Balor join, to bring the Demon back even sporadically. I like the idea, and I like to see it. But otherwise, here, talk about the triple threat match. Talk about the match that they added. One match we knew about. One of the big matches here. Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins, Hell in a Cell, right now at least, the one cell match on the show. So this will be the third match between these guys on a Pino Live event. Rhodes has won both matches here, and kind of because of that, you know, he's beat him twice. The story has been a little lacking. Like, they had Seth whipped him with the weight belt last week. They've had some good promos, but like, especially after seeing it twice on a PMI event, it's like, okay, they really need to do something to really hook me, to get me excited, not just me, but to get anybody, to really hook the fan and get us excited for that match. And so I was kind of hoping they would do something here to do that. Boy, did they. So Cody Rhodes, again, I guess I have mixed feelings about Cody at this point. Like I'm a big AEW fan, so that it still is very weird to me to see him in WWE, to see him being the face of Raw, and like I didn't love the way he was booked in AEW, so I still have kind of that association with him in a lot of ways. And he's not booked the same way here, but just like I still have that kind of just that association. So I didn't love his. I haven't loved his run so far. Like, yeah, I wasn't all hyped about the Cody counter or whatever, Cody clock or whatever. But he had a really good promo tonight. He was talking about how, previously he respected Rollins. He talked about how Dusty saw potential in Rollins. He said Rollins lived up to the hype. And, he's a generational talent. He's got all the tools. But he said on Sunday, all that respect, it's going to be locked outside the cell. You're going to be locked in the cell with somebody who wants to hurt you. And I'm going to hurt you. Seth Rollins comes out. And this man says basically, you left WWE because you weren't good enough. Then you and your friends tried to tear down everything that I'm building. Very clear AEW reference. Then Rollins said, "You don't get to take a sledgehammer to the throne and then come back and try to take that throne from me." What a very good promo! Like that is exactly what this feud needed. Like I want to see that, if not from day one, like that is what I always wanted this feud to be. I didn't need like that. It wasn't cheap shots at AEW. Like those things happened. He incorporated it into the story. It wasn't like, haha, AEW sucks. It was like, no, he was saying you and your friends tried to build something, a competitor, and they didn't say that, but pretty much tried to build a competitor directly opposing me / WWE. And making that part of the story. I really, really want to see them do that. And finally they did. And in some ways, I wish it didn't take so long, because I feel like there's so much meat on the bone there. And I don't want them to run this back anytime soon. Like this will be the third time we see these guys on pay-per-view. Like I would hope they don't have another rematch for like a year. And like, so sure, you could run that back like a year from now, whatever, and still tap into more of that. But by then, Cody will pretty much be a WWE guy again, if he isn't already in a lot of ways. So like this tonight was a great way to do it, and if they could have done it sooner. I'm not going to complain about it because it was a great promo of the night. So I will say I enjoyed it very much. Of like having that very clear the motive and the real like feeling of like, wow, like that it was gray area. Like you could probably imagine that Seth actually may feel that way, or other people in WWE may feel that way. That Cody did that, and now he's back, and now he's trying to like again. He did take the sledgehammer to the throne, and now he's trying to get the proverbial throne back. Like I really like that a lot. That really, really took this feud to the next level for me. The really, really good segment. Then they had this very heated like pull apart brawl. They brawled, pulled apart, security officials and agents. Curtis Axel sighting. Curtis Axel is now a producer for WWE. He appeared on Raw here as part of the segment, so that was pretty cool as well. Pretty heated brawl to set up just to set up the match for Sunday. But I thought the promo was like really, really good. And I haven't said it before. I'm not even the biggest fan of Seth Rollins, but like, damn, like that was a really good promo. And even Cody, I was like, Cody as well. Like Cody's promo was like good. Seth's promo was like really, really good. I was like, wow, like that is what this needed. That's what I wanted to see. So I definitely can't complain over that. I have to think that that Cody's gonna win on Sunday. I never like doing the kind of thing of it's like, of trilogy matches, you get 2 wins in a row, and then the other guy gets the last win, because then like the momentum is technically on their side, even though the other one got the 2 wins. Like there's a little something there. DJ points out that WWE might be pissed off. So WWE might be pissed off about what Tony Khan did last night. I don't think anything Tony Khan did last night, but Tony Khan did take a shot on Friday, very, very openly on Twitter at WWE for moving Money in the Bank to a smaller venue. So Tony Khan, as he does, takes some shots here and there, as he has every right to. And reportedly, there's some rumors and reports that WWE was upset about that. That's all in spirit of competition. Like they're competitors. So what are you expecting for? Yeah. So that was on Friday. Sorry, DJ. That was on Friday. I misinterpreted. So they could be upset about that. Maybe that's why they worked this in a little bit. I know that Cody had said. I think the very first interview he did when he signed it, it was the night of WrestleMania. The interview about him returning came out, and he made it clear like he did not want people taking cheap shots at AEW. And we have not seen like pretty much any references to AEW at all. Like literally the commentary team said that Cody's been gone for 6 years, and they made it seem like he hasn't wrestled in 6 years. So like they've been trying to ignore real life. But here, like thankfully they acknowledge it. It was like this is what's happened. This is where we are. This is the wrestling world as it actually is. So I appreciate that. Like I just want WWE to treat the fans and the viewers like we're in tune with what's happening. Like you don't even have to be an AEW fan to know like that's what's going on. And as an AEW fan, it's like, okay, like thank you for actually acknowledging like that is what's happening. So hats off for actually acknowledging the way things are. Again, purely just saying, hey, there is a competitor, there's another company. They literally just said, you and your friends tried to tear down what I built. That's it. Nothing too crazy, but because maybe I'll backtrack because they waited to do it, it had even more impact, so it worked out even better. So hats off to them all around. Very good promo here from both guys, and with Cody as well. He really selling like he wants to hurt Seth. There's no respect here. Like they're gonna be in Hell in a Cell. It's just all around. I really enjoyed this, and this really did help take it to the next level. So I definitely enjoyed that. And yeah, and that's just saying that the using real life, there's not using real life is stupid. There's no need to avoid it. Absolutely agree. Unfortunately, sometimes WWE just ignores it, doesn't want to incorporate that. Thankfully, they did. So definitely was happy about that tonight. But yeah, just seeing points out, we saw Curtis Axel, Petey Williams, Shane Helms, also known as the Hurricane. They're all there. They're producers. They're out there as part of this brawl. So if you saw any of them, I know Curtis Axel definitely got like a pretty big, easiest spot moment on TV. So good for him. Happy to see him back in WWE there. Steven says if Seth loses, and I think he will. I don't think it's great to have him lose 3 times in a row, but I don't think it'd be great to have Cody win twice and then just lose the Hell in a Cell match because again, like where does that really leave him? So Steven says if Seth loses, move him to SmackDown. I think that would make sense. Seth has been on Raw for a while. He bounces back and forth a lot. I think he got drafted over to Raw in October, but he's worked with Owens. He's worked with. I mean, I don't even like it. Let's say that he loses, right? And he stays on Raw. What can he really do? Maybe feud with Bobby Lashley. Riddle, maybe, but like they have had beef in the past. I don't know if you want to work with him. Whereas on SmackDown, I feel like there are more options in a lot of ways. It'd be a change of scenery, so I definitely like the idea, especially if he loses. Like that'd be pretty good. Nestor says if Seth moves to SmackDown, then Becky will lose. Then Becky will leave too. I mean, that's probable, but not like 100% given. They do sometimes split people up. I would think they would keep them together because they are Seth and Becky, and they would probably want to make them happy. In a lot of ways, SmackDown needs Becky more than Raw needs her right now. So maybe there's something to be said for that as well. Especially again with the Sasha and Naomi thing going on. Maybe there's something to be said for that as well. Sending both Seth and Becky to SmackDown. And yeah, that'd definitely be a hit it'd be a detriment to Raw. But I think Raw has more depth than SmackDown, at least right now. So that's definitely something that I don't know. I think there's something to be said for that. That I think they could both be useful to SmackDown, and they could lift off SmackDown because SmackDown's in a bit of a rough patch right now. But we'll move on. DJ wants to know who wants to hear Zeke speak. So we had a 6-man tag. It was the Mysterios and Ezekiel versus Kevin Owens and Alpha Academy. Now, you might ask, where was Veer? The guy that's been feuding with the Mysterios for several weeks now. Veer, unfortunately, did not come tonight. Just I guess he wasn't feeling in the mood. So unfortunately, maybe he'll feel inspired next week. But no Veer tonight. Definitely a shame. Due to no Veer, definitely a bummer there. But it was a fun 6-man tag. Kevin Owens is great. Alpha Academy is great. Mysterios are good. Steve DJ says Veer's stuck at IKEA again. Hey, if I see a tweet tomorrow and Veer's in IKEA, at least I'd give him kudos for the continuity there. But this is a very fun 6-man tag. Ezekiel had a fun hot tag at one point. At one point, he hit like a knee strike that someone said. I think Corey Graves said it was just like Elias. So maybe a little blurring of the identities there of like, oh, is this Elias? I don't know. But in the end, Owens accidentally super kicked Gable. Gable took a double 619, and Ezekiel pinned him for the win. And I will say, in a lot of ways, like they've built Ezekiel probably, I would say, like as good. Okay, not as good. I would say like the people that have showed up on Raw since WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes, Ezekiel. I'll stick it to the men's division. Cody Rhodes, Ezekiel, and Veer. I would say big three. Veer has gotten a bunch of squash victories, and he beat Dominic and Mustafa Ali. But like I really feel like in a lot of ways they've really featured Ezekiel a lot, and they've really built him up as this like pretty important character on Raw. Got one tonight. He will be facing Kevin Owens on Sunday. I have to think he will win that in a lot of ways. Like that'd be a very, very good way kind of to actually build him up, or the Owens will cheat and will continue. Steven says if Elias shows up on Sunday, Owens is going to have a breakdown. I think that'd be very funny to see as well. And Eddie says Elias will appear to piss off Kevin Owens, and Owens will just snap. He did throw a temper tantrum tonight, so maybe they're setting up some kind of some big blow up here for Kevin Owens to just kind of lose it, to become so obsessed and so frustrated and driven crazy, but by this Ezekiel madness here. But that could happen. But yeah, Brian Everett, we say this every week. Owens is making the absolute most of this. Like, this shouldn't be working as well as it is, but Owens is great. Everyone involved has really been like making the storyline work. They're like Gable's been funny. Otis is like they play off each other very well. And again, I don't mean to sound bad, but like Ezekiel is like the least entertaining part of this. Like, yes, he deserves credit for getting over as his own brother in a lot of ways. But like the character isn't that interesting. Like he just seems like a guy. Like he's Elias's brother, generic babyface. We haven't really seen who he is yet. Maybe that's the problem. Whereas Owens is funny. He's like always mad, and like, all these shenanigans and antics, like the lie detector test and the foil DNA test. Like that's been the real like hook of this feud here. And like we still like I've been saying this since I think the night after WrestleMania, maybe the week after. The whole story of the appeal has been Owens and what Owens is doing, and I guess to an extent what Chad Gable and Otis are doing. When like the whole story is about Ezekiel, and like he's not really been the most entertaining part of it. It's just a weird dynamic to have here. But Steven says if Ezekiel wins, Slash gets pushed coming out of this, he could face Slash feud with Theory. I think that'd be cool. They again, I guess I'll lump in Theory with those guys that they're getting pushed, like the newcomers on Raw. Theory's been around since really, I guess, October, but I guess going back to then, like he's been booked very, very well, him as well, and Ezekiel. So I could definitely see that as this kind of like two. I mean, technically Ezekiel's like a young star, but like he's Elias, so don't tell anybody. But yeah, it's weird. Like it's weird. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. And again, I don't know what the end game is. Eddie points out that Ezekiel is a more skillful wrestler than Elias. I will say that like Elias never blew me away as a wrestler, but Ezekiel, he has perfectly fine / good matches. So like I definitely noticed that as well. I never really watched an Elias match. I was like, oh wow, that was a good match. But Ezekiel, I've been like, that was pretty good match. Like can't really complain. Whereas Elias, he was always having like the symphony of destruction matches and stuff like that. So I will give him props to that. Like because they are different characters, different performers. Like Elias wasn't really the skillful wrestler, to use Eddie's term there, whereas Ezekiel, that's really more of what we're seeing here. So maybe that's the key difference, and I guess I've been taking that for granted. But I don't know. More predictions about Elias maybe coming back. Maybe it'll happen on Sunday at Hell in a Cell. Maybe again, I'm struggling to think like how this is all going to work out. Of like, are they just going to have Ezekiel disappear? Are we going to see both guys kind of alternate weeks or segments? Like I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. Deidre says they could build up Ezekiel like him, but like Eugene having to do signature moves of everyone else. Yeah, I could see that as well. I don't know if they already are doing that. I haven't really caught on to it so much. But I've been definitely impressed with what he is doing in the ring. Again, especially compared to Elias. And Elias is perfectly fine, but like he's definitely stood out in terms of just being more, I don't know, more of a wrestler. Like Elias was an entertainer. Like he was a musician. He was the guitar guy, and he wrestled. And he was good. And he was entertaining. You know, I think that makes sense. So, what else do we got here? So we had. Oh, of course, you got to talk about it. So we had Miz TV hyping up Mrs. The Street Profits interrupt. They hit the Miz with "It doesn't matter what you think" as a shout out to The Rock. And then somehow Miz TV devolves into 24/7 title shenanigans. Dana Brooke runs down. T-Bar had a little moment in the sun here. T-Bar got on TV. And then like the whole 24/7 title scene spilled in the ring. R-Truth, Apollo Crews, I think Reggie was there. Tamina, Akira Tozawa. So Tamina winds up pinning Dana Brooke to win the 24/7 title, and then she kisses Akira Tozawa, and then Tozawa pins her. I guess. Oh, sorry. Nestro says Reggie was missing. When the whole like locker room of the 24/7 title scene's there, I just like kind of assume everyone that we're seeing is out there. So Reggie was missing. That's okay. I guess he just wasn't part of that tonight for whatever reason. I don't know why. But yeah, it's definitely been a while since we've seen T-Bar on TV, so cool to see that. But then Akira Tozawa betrayed the woman that he loves. He decided to pin Tamina after a kiss, and he ran away with the title. So Akira Tozawa, once again, the 24/7 champion. This segment, I mean, again, I try not to be like too harsh or negative. Like the 24/7 title scene, like I don't think we had a segment with it last week, and I was relieved and just happy about that. And to have it back tonight, I was just like, it's time. Like it's not good. It's not good. It's the same things or the same kind of things every week, especially with this. You know, they're all like ran the ring and they're doing shenanigans and chaos or whatever. Tozawa gets the title. He's been the champion before. Nesha and Steven both upset. The Truth still did not get his baby back. Truth came close. He was about to kick Apollo Crews tonight. It seemed like he was going to get the chance to get the title here. Not tonight. Not tonight. I think Truth should win it back, and somehow they should just retire it. Like I don't know. Nesha says she likes it. Like I think it's ran its course for me at least. You're more than welcome to disagree. But it's pretty much been the same things every week. Even when it's not the same things, even when it's the double wedding, or if it's whatever it might be, like if it's something new. Again, I always default to like I liked when it was crazy stuff like the OBGYN appointment 2019 when they're really getting really creative and fun with it. And this is like it's just kind of like I don't want to say lame, but like I'm not really enjoying it, and I'm not trying to sound harsh, but I don't think that they're going to turn around and retire anytime soon. It gets more people on the show. It gets, Tozawa, Tamina, Dana Brooke, R-Truth, whoever might be on the show. Steven says they should retire the 24/7 title and the women's tag titles. I mean, I could see the women's tag titles in a way. I think in a lot of ways it would make more sense to retire the 24/7 title, but I think they're just going to press on and keep it going. But yeah, good times. 2019, National points out, yes, Maria Kanellis-Bennett had the title while she was pregnant. She was a pregnant champion. Maria Kanellis is great. I mean, she's absolutely amazing just in the world of wrestling. She was doing great things with Women's Wrestling Army and a new independent wrestling company that's trying to really change the game in a lot of ways. So hats off to what they're doing over there. WWE did not do her or Mike Bennett right, so or / Mike Kanellis. So glad they're both doing great things elsewhere in their own ways. But yeah, I think we're far ways away from that. I actually liked, or at least wasn't more entertained by the 24/7 title scene back then. So this is not that. This is not that. But what we got a couple other things here. DJ points out that Alexa Bliss beat Doudrop. Alexa Bliss on a roll. They even gave her a video package recapping her I think it was her Money in the Bank win from a couple years ago, and then she won the title coming out of that. So, kind of reminding us that Alexa Bliss is a big deal. She's a big star. Whereas previously she was off the show for months, and they clearly did not have any plans for her. Now, don't really know what the plan is, but she's on TV and winning matches every week. So I definitely can't complain about that. I'm very happy about that. Big fan of Alexa Bliss. Very glad she's back on TV. Very glad she's winning matches. She beat Doudrop tonight with Nikki ASH at ringside. Nothing to really write home about. Just join the match, and she keeps rolling. So happy to see that. I don't really know where this is going. I would think maybe Money in the Bank. I think I mentioned her earlier with Rhea Ripley. I think her and Rhea Ripley probably would be the favorites to win Money in the Bank at this point. So maybe that's kind of what we're slowly gearing up towards, of like having her get built up and just gain more momentum here. If so, cool. In a lot of ways, I feel like there's something beneficial about having her get the title here. Or if not, I mean, I don't know. I think her and Ripley, there's something said either way. At least Ripley, she's in Judgment Day right now. Bliss, she's winning matches, but there's still doesn't feel like this big like story or longer term picture again, other than maybe building her up for if not Money in the Bank. Steven points out maybe a title shot. Otherwise, I don't know. I feel like with Money in the Bank, she could easily win the title. If she faces Bianca Belair like in a singles match, I don't necessarily know if that would go her way because it's Bianca Belair and they'd probably clearly want to push her like that. But at the same time, like if she wins Money in the Bank, I don't think she would cash in on Bianca or whatever and win the title because that's a very heelish thing to do. So I don't know. I like the idea either way. I like the idea of having her featured in the title scene. So even if she loses, I wouldn't complain with that too much. By the way, I think we all agree that Alexa needs a title shot, as Nesha points out here. And then Eddie says the win tonight was definitely a way to get Bliss momentum. Maybe for a match against Bianca, not the Money in the Bank match, but against Bianca at Money in the Bank. I think that makes sense. There's still several weeks away from that. Nesha, I'm with you 100%. I say this every week. Robert, my co-host on the Friday show, Robert E. Fleece, blatantly disagrees with me. He does not want to see it. I don't think John likes the idea either, but I'll fight for it. Nesha says, let's get Alexa Bliss and Nikki ASH as the tag team champions here. Heck yeah, man. Like I love those two when they were together back in the day. Again, shout out to 2019 when the world still made sense. They were a tag team, but that was before Nikki was almost a superhero, and back before Alexa was possessed by the Fiend. And once she was like the goddess and everything, and she was Nikki Cross, and she was this like off kilter crazy person. Not crazy, you know what I mean. I thought they were great together. I have been hoping for a long time now they would reunite somehow. I was hoping when Alexa was still fully a heel that she would unite with Nikki ASH and they become like Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy of sorts. For any comic fans out there, I really like the idea, and they didn't do it. And now that Alexa's back, she's a face. But then Nikki's doing this thing with Doudrop, so I don't know how that would necessarily, I don't know. I like the idea. Shout out to Nestor for that one. I want that to happen. I think they're going to roll with Nikki and Doudrop, at least for now, and that's fine. Good for Doudrop, but like I definitely like the idea of reuniting Alexa and Nikki there, because I think they work very well together. So hopefully they reunite or at least feud at some point. I know they had a match last week, but like I'd like to see them actually work together in a little more. A little more substantial way, whether it's feuding, work together, whatever it might be. But yeah, Nesha says she guesses in that case, Nikki and Doudrop being champions. Then, I mean, at this point, you got Nikki and Doudrop, you got Shayna and Natalya, you got, if they reunite, well, reportedly, Zelina Vega is out of an injury right now. So she will not be, if they do the tournament next week, like I don't think she'd be able to do that. If they hold off, it's a quote unquote future tournament. So if they hold off on that, they could reunite Carmella and Zelina Vega out of necessity, really, if anything, and probably bring up a team or two from NXT. So at that point, I would probably predict Shayna and Natalya, and I would say Nikki and Doudrop probably is the second most favorite there, because then out of 4 teams, like could be anybody. But Nesha says she does not want Natalya and Shayna to be the champions. Steven says maybe the Bellatons come back. Maybe. I know that they've made it clear they want to come back if the doctors approve, and there are obviously a bunch of complications to kind of work with there, like can they get approved schedules? I know that they're both doing their own things in various ways, so I think that's definitely an option. I know they've made it clear they want to wrestle for the title, so there's that's half the battle alone. So maybe one day. But speaking of tag team matches, the main event, actually not the main event. We had the countdown for the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Riddle. This is set up on SmackDown. Of course, Riddle, Randy Orton being out of action right now. Maybe just taking time off. I know. And then Shinsuke Nakamura, his partner Rick Boogs actually hurt. So these two guys teamed up together to join forces and try to get revenge on the Usos. We had a championship contender match, much like in a lot of ways we had Ali versus Ciampa earlier. So this was if the Usos lost, Riddle and Nakamura would get a title match. Well, the Usos got DQ'd. They tried to use Riddle's scooter on him. So Riddle and Nakamura won. So they earned a title shot at some point. They're not confirmed when yet. Could it be Hell in a Cell? I don't know. The card's already looking a little crowded. So maybe that'll be the next week or whenever. But they earned a title match. So we're going to look forward to seeing that. And then after match, we had a beatdown. And then Riddle did a super RKO. This man is like mastering the RKO. He's definitely learning a lot from the Viper here. Steven says the super RKO was awesome. Yeah, like Riddle, definitely. He's like, it's like we're seeing that growth of like at first he's doing the RKO and he was doing it, but now he's doing the RKO and is really good at it. So I'm liking what we're seeing there with him, even with Randy being off right now. Either storyline injury, whatever it might be, still carrying on the legacy of the Viper. So that's very, very nice. And that's just that it's time for the Usos to lose and cause problems in the bloodline. I don't know about that. I mean, Riddle and Nakamura, as Eddie says, they're an interesting tag team. Is that the team you have the Usos lose to? Your record-setting tag team, SmackDown tag team champions. Now you're unified tag team champions. I don't know about that. Like, I think we are quickly looking at a time where it will be a good time for the Usos to lose to kind of create those problems within the bloodline. But is it to Nakamura and Riddle? I don't know about that because they are very much a thrown together team that feels like a temporary kind of thing. Whereas like the Street Profits or the Lethal Lovers over on SmackDown, or I don't even know who else might be. Nessa points out, yeah, I don't know who is going to beat them right now. I look at the roster in general. They've already faced the Street Profits. They've already faced Viking Raiders. They've already faced. I don't think that they faced Alpha Academy, but that's another heel team. So not a lot of depth, especially with Randy Orton and RK Bro being out of commission right now as a collective. Riddle said there, obviously. But I don't know. It could be the New Day. Robert and I talked about this last week, the previous week on SmackDown. It could be the New Day. You can always run back New Day Usos. I don't think anybody would really complain about that. DJ's idea of having Balor and Styles beat them. I like the idea as well. But again, if we're talking about maybe Finn Balor turning on Styles, I don't know if that's really feasible. I don't know. I'm not really like nobody really seems to be jumping out to me. Maybe there's something said for having Nakamura and Riddle as an upset, just to kind of again further that story of having that dissension that within the bloodline, and not really worry so much about the quality of the tag titles here. Any points on maybe Dick Priest and either Edge or maybe even Ciampa. I like the idea as well. But again, to me, I'm very old-fashioned. I'm thinking like, okay, the Usos probably should lose to a babyface team, and then who might that be? New Day, Street Profits. They've been a little more heel here lately, but I think they're still babyfaces. Steven says maybe it'll be Fight Club. Those are definitely heels. I don't know about that. Viking Raiders, I mean, the Usos already beat them, so like I think New Day's a pretty safe bet. If Finn Balor doesn't turn, I like that idea. That'd be a very fun tag team, even as like a fairly brief reign. So I like these options. I don't really know one over the other, like who I favor in terms of like actually realistic possibility. But at the end of the day, Steven picking the Usos will retain whenever it happens. I don't know. Could be Hell in a Cell, could be next week. I don't really know. And he says it doesn't see anybody. Steven does not see anybody beating the Usos at least anytime soon. Now I tend to agree. Eddie says, "Oh, I like this idea. You could do Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn teaming up together again. I like the idea as well. Those guys have a ton of history, and we saw they had a little bit of a falling out on SmackDown, but they're best buds. They could patch it together. So." I think that'd be a lot of fun. You have the bloodline connection as well. So maybe that's more of a long-term thing. But if not just saying maybe it's more of a short-term thing, someone like New Day or whatever could easily beat the Usos potentially. So we'll wait and see. But otherwise, I think that takes us to the main event. A very questionable main event segment. It was the contract signing for Bobby Lashley versus almost an MVP Hell in a Cell. Going to be a handicap match. this was pretty much what we've seen. MVP saying that he's going to end the Almighty era at Hell in a Cell, saying that Lashley is nothing without him, saying that he made Lashley, and that the age of almost the giant is upon us, and it's going to start at Hell in a Cell. Then they brawled. Cedric Alexander got involved, and then Lashley speared almost their table to end the show standing tall, heading into Hell in a Cell. As we talked about before, I have to think that that almost should win in a lot of ways, but at the same time, Lashley kind of needs to win to get back if they want to push him as like a title contender. So definitely a tough call here. If I had to, I almost should win though. Like almost probably should win. But then with two comments saying it should be in the cell. Like it's not that heated of a feud though. Like yeah, they got the MVP betrayal. Yeah, they've been feuding for a while. This will be their third match at a PMI event. So by the same logic of Cody and Seth, that the cell can make it feel more special. So I definitely see that idea as well. Like it hasn't been that heated. Like they've had some beatdowns. They've had MVP in his promos, but like I don't feel it's quite there. And again, they do this all the time. It doesn't have to be this bitter grudge blood feud, but like I like when they do that, or in a general sense. But at the end of the day, the feud does have to end eventually. And Lashley, Steven says that they should put Lashley back in the title picture with a win here. I think that would make a lot of sense. Nestor says a cell would keep Lashley out of it. Well, it will be a handicap match. This will not be a singles match. It will be a handicap match with MVP and Omos against Lashley. A cell would keep someone like a Cedric Alexander out. Cedric attacked Lashley tonight to help Omos yet again. So I think there's something said for that. I would expect Cedric to probably interfere on Sunday, and maybe even Shelton Benjamin as well. I think Shelton's been potentially hurt, I guess, or something lately. I'm not quite sure about that. But Eddie predicting victory for Lashley. DJ says MVP is going to pin Lashley. I don't know about that. Like, where I obviously almost could like destroy Lashley and MVP could pin him, but I don't know. I think the handicap match will make it different enough than what we've already seen. I think Omos should win. Again, just kind of really cement him. But aside from the match, this was a very weird thing to end the Go Home show on. Like, this was not the most hot segment. It was not the most interesting segment. Again, MVP said pretty much the same thing about the Almighty era and about, him and Lashley and betraying Lashley and everything. This is what we've pretty much already seen. Whereas, as Eddie points out, I fully agree. The show should have ended with the Cody and Seth thing, with their great promos, with the brawl. That would have been a very entertaining, very exciting close to the show. That's how you sell pay-per-view. That's how you kind of go off the air for Raw, at least the last time for the pay-per-view. Definitely like that idea. And they went with the contract signing. I don't know why. WWE is going to WWE. I don't know. It's what they do. But Eddie, I definitely agree with you there. I think that would have been a much better idea. Steven points out he doesn't know what's worse, almost Von Wagner. I think it's Von Wagner. I don't want to knock Von Wagner when we're not even on the NXT show, but like at least almost like they're both big guys, but almost is like a giant. Almost is like this colossus of a guy. I've been very at least like he's got that going for him, and that makes up for anything else. Whereas like Von Wagner, like I don't want to be too hard on the guy, but like I'll take almost over Von Wagner if you ask me between the two. But DJ says he thinks we could see Madcap Moss versus Happy Corbin Hell in a Cell. I could see that. He's saying we could the Corbin was at the Cubs game today throughout the first pitch. Could see that as well for Hell in a Cell potentially. But again, it's so weird right now. 7 matches, all Raw matches, and there's still SmackDown on Friday. But like you would think they would have announced something for SmackDown already. But this was the Go Home show for Hell in a Cell for Raw. We had, again, 2 matches added to the show for Hell in a Cell. We had more build for Hell in a Cell, promos, matches. Bianca Belair Asuka was a pay-per-view match. We had a contract signing that was not the best closing segment, but all in all, I thought it was a pretty good show. Not the best, but like again, I think more than anything, I so enjoyed the Cody and Seth thing. That like props up my number strong enough to be like a pretty decent 7 for the Go Home show. I probably would have preferred like a little stronger like build for some of these matches. Like they build up Theory and Ali tonight. They build up the Judgment Day thing tonight, and that's been in the works for a couple weeks now, but not the best, like, go home style for the show. Not the worst either. They've been worse go home shows too, but thought it could have been better. And I agree with Nash just saying it was a 7. Nothing special. Not bad, not great. About in between. Steven says he'll give it a 6.5. And DJ with a 2.3. Oh my goodness. DJ 2.3. I didn't think it was that bad. My gosh. Like for me to give like below a 5 for Raw, they've messed up real bad. I try to give like a 6-ish on average, and like a 7 is like a decent show. 2.3, like the day I give a show a 2.3, folks, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. Or it gives a show 8.10. And it says 6. Let's settle Hell in a Cell before Money in the Bank. Yeah, we got Hell in a Cell, and then we're on to Money in the Bank. That is when? July 2nd. That's the first weekend of July. So already a couple weeks, about just under a month. So they've got enough time to build that. And look forward to the build for that coming out of Hell in a Cell starting next week here on the Raw show, where I and Johnny Hart will be doing the Raw post show as I do every Monday. Again, John was on vacation tonight, but usually John and I are here on Mondays to talk about Raw. We are here on Tuesday nights to talk about NXT. So we'll be here on Tuesday night to talk about that. NXT will have In Your House on Saturday. So make sure to look forward to that as well. And otherwise, Robert and I should be here on Friday for Friday Night SmackDown, schedule permitting. And otherwise, great. Actually, sorry, we have the 2 Dynamite dudes on the Rampage covering all things AEW. We do have Hell in a Cell on Sunday. John and I are tentatively planning on doing the Hell in a Cell post show live after the show on Sunday. So we should be able to do that on Sunday. I will confirm that, and I'll try to ask John about that before the show for NXT tomorrow. And otherwise, great stream of interviews constantly come at you. Bill Pritchard recently interviewed Ruby Soho, formerly known as Ruby Riott, and also Ric Flair. Ric Flair, WWE Hall of Famer, absolutely awesome that we were able to get him for an interview. Again, say what you will about him, but like, you cannot deny Ric Flair, absolute legend. Like that's cool. Like that's really cool. What can I say? I think that's cool. But DJ went out. He'll be Hell in a Cell in person. So there you go, DJ. You'll fill us in with any of your in-person observations there. I guess the next night on Monday if you can join us. But yeah, as I said, Monday, Tuesday, Friday for our weekly Raw, SmackDown, NXT post shows. Hell in a Cell on Sunday. We are more than likely going to have a post show for that right after the show there. Interviews, all these things and more. SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, all that good stuff and more. You know where to find us. Please do leave a like and subscribe. And with that said, folks, especially these days, the world outside is a scary place. It's a scary place. But that is why, especially, I appreciate you all so very much for taking the time out of your days / nights / early mornings at this point to take your time to share the love of wrestling with me, to talk about wrestling, whether it's a good show, whether it's a 2.3 level Raw as DJ rated it, or if it's a really good show, whatever it might be, anywhere that it falls. We come here together to do one thing, and I appreciate it all so much. I appreciate it because together we all enjoy wrestling. Thanks for listening, everybody.